I don't understand. It doesn't compute in my brain. Why are you still in the same place you were a year ago? Why are you still struggling? Why have you not taken action yet? 365 days of excuses. 365 days of laziness, procrastination, justifications for your actions. When are you going to take action to do something? When are you going to not live the same life year after year after year after year? I don't believe in your excuses. You could have changed. You could have transformed your body. You could have bettered your relationship. You could have changed your career. You could have done everything you wanted to do at the beginning of 2024, but you didn't. You chose the life you're living right now. My question to you is, are you going to choose to do it again for another year? Are you going to take action, or are you going to waste another 365 days?
You got the same credit score, wasting your time. You got the same money in the bank, wasting your time. You're making no progress. Now, enough of that. It's time to get right. It's time to stop. It's time to get locked in and focused. This next year is your year, but you got to do something different.
Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time will never come. You have to start now.
What do I need to do for my dream to come true? What do I need to do to become elite and become a person who performs at the optimal pinnacle of my industry? I went to a qualified person and asked them a question. What do I need to do? When's the last time you talked to somebody qualified and asked a question, what I need to do? You talking to your brother, you talking to your aunt, you talking to your barber, you're talking to all kind of people who ain't qualified. Go to someone qualified, just ask a simple question. What do I need to do to get to the next level? If you can do two things consistently, the right two things, trust me, your life will be transformational. I want your ifs to become your thens. I want you to stop being a spectator and start being a participant. Stop wasting your time participating. Stop wasting your time being a spectator in somebody else's life and start becoming a participant in your own life.
Are you going to let life beat you down for another year? Or are you going to get up and say enough is enough? Are you going to look in that mirror and say, I'm done looking at you. It's time to change? Are you going to yell at that morning person that makes you sleep in every day and say it's time to change? Are you going to go into your work with a different mentality to get that raise or get out of that situation and start your own business? Are you going to step up, or are you going to fall down? Right now, you are faced with a choice. Change or remain the same.
There's no more mediocre. There's no more mid. There's no more average. There's only two words: all in. 24/7, 365 until the day they put you in the ground. Let's work.
Because I know this is your year. I know it's time for you to lock in. You choose the two most powerful things that can get you to where you want to be. Ask the right people, and they'll give you direction. Ask the right people, and they will show you the way so that all your ifs can become your thens. And this next year is your year. All you gotta do is lock in.
At some point, it's going to be too late. At some point, the things you really want are going to be out of reach. But you're not at that point yet. There's plenty of time left. There's time left to work. There's time left to fight. But only if you want it. Here's the thing about life. Each morning, when you wake up, you're granted a new opportunity to create your own destiny and build the life that you want. In the past, I'm sure you've had some good days. And I'm also sure that you've had your fair share of bad days. But none of that matters. The only thing you have ahead of you is a bunch of blank pages. Your story is still waiting to be written. The best part of that? You are holding the pen. So get writing and get doing. Get building.
Get off the couch. Stop scrolling through social media and start becoming a participant in your own life.
I don't give sleep 10 hours a day. Then all I'll say to you is you have 14 hours. To me, this is not about the semantics. This is about the binary mindset of winning or losing in life.
You don't have to have money to make money. What you have to have is belief in yourself.
Jump and the net will appear.
Go try and accomplish something that's hard. You may win, you may lose, you may succeed, you may fail. I'll tell you what, you'll be better. If you avoid those things that are hard and you sit on your couch and eat Doritos, this is not a good move. Move towards that challenge and go attack it.
I've studied great people, millionaires and billionaires and people who succeed in what they do. And I realized that the difference is only, it's not a behavior. It's not something that they get to when they want to. It's not a feeling. And so for you, it's a feeling. For them, it's a mentality. It's a way of life. It's what they eat. It's what they sleep. It's what they drink. It's who they are. It possesses them.
But it's not what you deserve in life, it's what you earn in life. I came from a background. My dad beat me. I got in a lot of trouble. I found a way to turn it around.
The projects that say, I don't know if I can animate that. I don't know how to do that. Those are the things we want, because through that curiosity, you'll reach a level that you didn't think was possible.
When you run a business, it is a series of oh my God moments. Like the oh my God to oh my God.
There's something that you love more than yourself, than your dream.
I know you're tired. I know you're weary. I know you've been brought to tears. All the blood, all the sweat, all the sacrifice, all of the suffering. I know you want to quit right now, but this is not the time to let go. This is not the time to doubt. This is not the time to quit. Keep going.
The ones that don't make it know how to be a victim. They feel sorry for themselves. They blame the next guy, and they don't take the responsibility as their own. And that's what an entrepreneur does. You're the boss. It's your problem, period. It's your problem. It rests with you. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Your excuses will destroy you and take everything that you ever wanted from you if you let them.
What successful entrepreneurs do is they just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And eventually, if they're fortunate, one of their ideas happens to hit the right place at the right time. And so that's also Darwinian in some sense. You know, you're creating all these little enterprises that are sort of alive. They're run by people after all. And even if your idea is good, that doesn't mean it will be successful. There's so many things that have to be taken into account. So this is partly why persistence, and that's part of conscientiousness, is so useful. It's like, you know, what do they say? If at first you fail, then try again. And that would probably mean try something different rather than the same thing. But persistence is helpful because it enables you to run many experiments. And you need to know that the baseline is failure. You know, it's important because otherwise you'll blame that on yourself. You know, and some of that's useful because there's probably some things that you could improve about yourself. But it's very difficult to go from 0 to 1, you know. If you're starting out as a salesperson, for example, the hardest sale is the first customer.
If you want to achieve what you want to achieve at the highest level, this is a binary game. Either you're in the yes, I will figure this out business, or no, this won't work because. Too many of you are stuck, and this is not going to work because.
There's sometimes you could be in a meeting and you could be the smartest guy in the room, and you don't want to let anybody know that. Let everybody talk, let everybody think they're smarter than you, but you really know what's going on. There's other times when you're in the room, you could be the least smartest guy in the room, but you got to make them think that you're smarter than them. And if you can master that technique, then you can get just about anything you want in any negotiation.
People who are faster and smarter be more productive, especially if they're hardworking, but that's really what you'd want, isn't it? I mean, how the hell do you want to set up your society? You want to set up your society so that incompetent people who do nothing succeed? That first of all, that can't happen.
Oftentimes, the person who stops ourselves from doing other things while we would like to point at other people because they have an opinion, it is actually us. We choose to believe, listen, adhere to somebody else's opinions, but somebody else's opinion of us doesn't pay our bills. The person who has an opinion about what it is you're doing was most likely never going to become a customer.
I want to know the personality, the character of the people I'm in with, but there's times when I'll test somebody, I'll throw out a word or two that I know is false, and I'll see how he responds. If he wants to make me think I know what I'm talking about, I'll say something that has nothing to do with anything or is totally absurd, and we'll see how they answer. And sometimes they'll give you an answer and you can start to, they'll indicate to you what kind of personality they are and really what you have. The main thing is just let people talk first. Try to get as much out of them as you possibly can. And then you can kind of figure it out. Like with Gotti, a couple of times I had to sit down with him I knew that he could never believe that I was winning. So in the midst of the argument, I had to figure out what he really wanted and how I can get what I want, letting him think that he got what he wanted. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it's all about how you carry yourself. It really is. But you got to be prepared.
I use what I call the iterative decision-making process. I'm only to take small steps. So, am I trying to leave I don't like my job. I'm miserable there. Okay. Does that mean I walk in tomorrow morning and say, hey boss, I hate it here, I quit? No, it doesn't mean that. It means I say, okay, I'm gonna start putting my resume together. I'm gonna start checking out LinkedIn. I'm gonna start seeing what qualifications I might need that could improve my ability to get a new job. Once I've done that, I'm gonna start sending out my resume. I'm gonna start building some relationships with some people. And now I look up and I get another job offer. So I didn't make a crazy short-term emotional decision. I made a slow, progressive, iterative decision-making process that led me from a situation that I didn't like to an opportunity that seems more promising. And this could apply to just about anything. It's what you learn to do is, okay, I'm gonna go forward. I can't get out of this. I'm gonna go forward. I'm not gonna quit, so I'm gonna go forward, bring it on. And I think if there's anything that you learn, it's to keep pushing through things that suck. And I would love to say keep pushing through adversity, but this isn't adversity. This is just things that suck. It's one level below adversity. Adversity is when you're having a challenge. This is just something that's gonna suck, and you're gonna have to push through it.
If you can't even go look in the mirror and be happy about what you see, good luck starting anything.
I feel like building a business, especially in the very beginning, is like putting a puzzle together, right? For me, when I'm building a business, especially in the very beginning, I didn't have the blueprint. I didn't have the entire roadmap. I had no idea what it looks like, honestly. But I just stayed really focused on what is the next step you need to achieve to get yourself to that next step.
Am I having joy in doing this activity that is consistent with my purpose? And if that joy is there, then I feel uplifted. And it doesn't matter if I'm getting paid or not paid or whatever. It's just that I feel that spirit. I feel that breath of life come into my lungs. It uplifts me. I'm ready to do this work.
When somebody else says jump, if they're in an authoritative position, you jump. And I've always been like that. Like, I'm a very firm believer in I am a leader, but at the same time, if I sit down and you know more than me, I'm gonna shut the listen. And that's why I've been able to project my life forward.
I feel like sometimes we can get overwhelmed when we're like, I don't know the whole picture, I don't have the whole plan. I've always entered a project or a business without having the whole plan. And I think that's really key to getting started and really key to figuring things out. So just like a puzzle, I would just look for that next puzzle piece that I needed to just capture and lay down. And once I picked it up and I laid it down, I connected it to what I was doing, and I figured out what the next piece of the puzzle I needed was, then I would move on to that next piece, right?
Don't listen to people that are not where you want to be. And it's a very basic, simple breakdown, a basic, simple question. But the reason why I love that piece of advice so much is because, and I always bringing it back to this, let's take school, for example. In the most raw way possible, if you go into an entrepreneurship class in college, you're an idiot. Because that person is not an entrepreneur and they have no idea what they're talking about. It doesn't make any sense to me. You got people teaching business and how to start and run your own business that are teachers and failed at everything they've done. And I'm no hate on them, dope, you're teaching. I love teaching, it's what I do, I'm a coach. But why are you listening to people that are not doing what you want to do? I'm not gonna listen to somebody how to fix my car when they don't even own a car and have never worked on one in their entire life. It's just a simple breakdown that I feel a lot of people can try to attack from different angles, but the truth is the truth, and that's just how it is.
So when I take a look at all these different types of systems, and I look at the leaders and say, well, what differentiates the best leader? And it has something to do with this spirit, passion for something they hold deeply at and consciously.
at bay. Who they are and why are they in the world becomes very important to them. The leader part is that they're able to bring out those characteristics in others, that consciousness in others. They don't do it by cajoling or by manipulation. That can be done. It can be done for a short term, but it's not a long-term measure. But they actually help people in the discovery, if they're not already awake to who they are, they help them become awake to why they're in this business or organization. And together that they start to move aggressively towards a vision. That's what differentiates teams, and that's where work spirit comes into play. That spirit of purpose, and it's enunciated. They know what it is, and they speak directly to it.
So as soon as I was like, quote unquote, off the clock at 5 p.m. at my daytime job or whatever, I'd go straight into developing my creative projects. I really treated my creative career during those years as like my second job, just as if anyone would have like a double shift, right? And doing that for a few years really helped me feel comfortable eventually quitting my day job and then moving to New York and then kind of like hitting the ground running with all my creative energy, right? So yeah, I definitely, I remember when I was doing like so many different things at once. And I think for people who, you know, want to have a creative side hustle, or they want to transition from like their day job to like a full-time creative career, just having the discipline to building out like what does that transitional period look like? Because for me, you know, unless you have like, you know, a nice chunk of money where you can just transition easily, like I didn't have that. I was like saving up and working this second job creatively to build my creative career so that I could slowly transition.
Look at your surroundings. Your surroundings will make and break everything. Like Dan Pina says the breakdown, like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It is like the most real quote in the world. I cut out drugs and alcohol because I stopped hanging out with the people that were feeding me drugs and alcohol. And it's not their fault that I became an addict. It was my own. And I'm very self-responsible in that aspect. I'm the one who picked up the pills. I'm the one who like drank the bottles every goddamn night. It's not their fault that happened. It was me. But I wasn't able to get out of that life until I stopped hanging out with the losers that only wanted to do that.
I feel like I was rushing a lot in my 20s, like rushing to make it, or like rushing to prove something of myself, or rushing to have something to show for myself, right? So if I could, a piece of advice I give my 20-year-old self is don't be in a rush, you know, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, enjoy everything you're going through, because it goes by really quickly, right? And then it gets a lot harder. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Don't be in a rush.
Be appreciative that you've learned how to manage yourself, then move towards leading yourself. And in leading yourself is understanding and starting to do the deep inquiry that you'll do for life. Why am I here on earth? For what purpose? And then to establish a vision, probably as a 20-year-old, it's probably 25, 5 years out. Where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Being with, learned, knowing, all those areas, and then what values do I want to operate within? So it's really developing that vision, value, and purpose for myself. And then once I have that, then I'd say the last step is start to identify people that I align with on purpose at different levels and start to move with them into the world.
When I look at everyday life, when I look at the world, when I look at achieving something, it doesn't make sense to me to just work, to drink, to sleep, to work, to watch TV, to drink, to sleep. What the are we doing?
Change is inevitable. And you are either changing for the worse or changing for the better. You decide. You cannot change because you have equated change with pain. Every time you have changed, you feel pain. You stepped out of one relationship to another and you feel pain. You leave one neighborhood to another and you feel pain. You go from one job to another and you feel the fire of transition. So every time you hear the word change,
you see pain. I need you to get out of your comfort zone. You can't be successful with the companion of comfort. Comfort and success cannot walk together. If you're going to be successful, if you're going to achieve it, you've got to break out of your comfort zone. And you have to start identifying change with a new layer of belief. I see change as pleasure. I see change as transformation. I see change as evolution. I see change as beauty, brilliance. I see change as the future. I see change as necessary. I see that if I don't change, there is a generation of people who are going to be stuck in the same place.
The reason why you don't have what it is that you see, the reason why what's in your head is not in your hands, it's not your reality, is because your perspective opposes your potential. You don't have it because you don't see the value in it. Perspective is everything. Let's go. I need you to hear me loud and clear. You cannot change the past, but you can change your perspective about it. Your viewpoint is your advantage. Your viewpoint is what changes the game.
Evolve. See, those of you who will evolve, who are willing to evolve, you will inherit the future. Those of you who are willing to take everything you do to the next level, you will inherit the future. The reason why you're so frustrated and angry and bitter and you can't navigate through it is because you're functioning on an old software internally. And life is demanding an upgrade. And you keep pushing off the alarm, saying, remind me tomorrow. It's time for the next version of yourself. Snap out of it. This version of you is not going to carry you in this next season. And so how you read and how you pray and how you meditate and how you work out and the relationships that you desire, the places you want to go, the tables you want to sit at, the rooms you want to walk in, require another version of yourself. For many of us, fear is disguised as rational and practical. And fear is disguised as a planning agent. I'm just planning out the process and I'm just gonna wait. I'm just kind of walking myself through everything and processing everything. And so fear disguises itself as process and practical and rationale. And no, boss up and admit that you are afraid. You are afraid to evolve. You are afraid to give it everything you have because you are afraid that people will reject you. You are afraid to change. You are afraid to move. Boss up and admit that you are afraid. Change is not pain. See change as growth. See change as transformation. See change as evolution. See change as necessary. See change as critical. See change as inevitable. And the more and more you start to see that change is not pain, you're gonna see transformation. You have unfinished business, and you need to go back to that dream, back to that idea. You have a date with destiny. You have unfinished business. It's time for you to go back to the drawing board with a new perspective. And so how you read and how you pray and how you meditate and how you work out and the relationships that you desire, the places you want to go, the tables you want to sit at, the rooms you want to walk in, require another version of yourself, another version of discipline and focus and intentionality. And you got to sacrifice the old you. The marketplace rewards those who have evolved. The marketplace rewards those who have become more valuable. You will be rewarded for the pain. If you're trying to be financially fit, your vice could be splurging on clothes and entertainment and food and recreation and not saving and investing. If you're going to be extraordinary, and you can't make ordinary sacrifices, there are levels to sacrifice. There's sacrifices that everybody makes, sacrifices in every scene of our lives.
People tell me all the time, it's hard to get wealthy. It's hard to grind. It's hard to be focused. How do you even do these speeches? It's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to stay broke. It's hard to stay depressed. It's hard to stay governed by anxiety. It's hard to be inconsistent. It's hard not to have daily disciplines. It's hard not to believe in yourself. It's hard to be broke. It's hard to be poor. It's hard. It's all hard. So choose your heart.
Come on, break through. I'm believing with you right now. You're about to break through because you're listening to me right now, and you're listening to what it takes. Sacrifice is what's going to get you in the door. Sacrifice is what's going to have you seated at the table. Can you surrender what you have possessed? Can you surrender what is possessing you? Some of you are possessed by social media. It's no longer a servant, it is a master. Social media is a beautiful servant, but it is a terrible master. Can you surrender social media? Can you surrender your time? Can you surrender yourself? Can you surrender your mind? Can you surrender your will? Can you stop choosing what's killing you? If you're going to achieve it, if you're going to manifest, if you're going to do this thing, then you're going to need some stamina. Come on, believe it, believe it. Come on, you gotta start speaking that stamina over your life, speaking that endurance over your life. Believe it, believe it. This is my time. Late nights, early mornings, sometimes no friends, sometimes no time with family. Sometimes you've gotta downsize. You may have to live in your car. You may have to sleep on a bus. You may have to ride the train. I don't know what your sacrifice is. You just may have to give everything you have. But in the end, it'll be worth it. You have unfinished business. You got work to do.
You got to try to find these new fields, these new things which are emerging. Now, here's the good news, right? According to futurist Peter Diamandis, between 2022 and 2026, the world will see as much change as between the year 1900 to 2000. In 4 years, starting next month, we're going to see as much change as between the years 1900 to 2000. New technologies, new opportunities, new things are going to emerge. The whole field of Web3 is emerging right now. And this means there's going to be so much opportunity for disruption.
I hated my current existence. And so I think some people don't hate their current existence enough. And so I don't think you either have to really believe that this thing's going to happen, or you have to know that your life sucks. And I knew that my life sucked. And so I knew that if I did something else, it would have a higher likelihood of changing my life than not doing something. And at least that's how I would say that I probably saw it in the beginning. It's I didn't know if it was going to work, but I knew that I wasn't going to stop.
That's the thing. I wake up every single day and I think to myself, I am the most unqualified non-development tech founder in the face of this internet, and yet I'm still going to do it because I don't want to lie at the end of my life and think, I wish I would have tried something.
Ask the questions of what you want to do next. The world is going to put you in the box on what you have to do next, because they're determining who you need to be. And you are rising up to their expectations because you're not asking the questions yourself. So clarity to me is stemmed from you being able to sit down and ask those tough questions that piss you off, that irritate you, that make you emotional, that you cry over, that you reflect, that makes you want to do research, that makes you follow up, that makes you sit down and say, I don't really know.
The crazy part about business, this is kind of the craziest part, at the same time, you only need one hit. Just one. So as long, with $1 Million Weekend in the book, one of the biggest breakthroughs for people is just getting started, because Zuckerberg really has done one thing. He started Facebook.
Either you have to have a reward that incentivizes you. It's the away towards or away. It's either we're going away from pain or we're going towards pleasure. And I think a lot of people are really looking for that passion that's going to be towards. But I think early days, and I talk a lot about this, but I think negative motivation is poo-pooed too much. If you are angry, use it. If you are sad, use it. Because what else are you going to do with it? You might as well let it help you. Or it uses you, you know what I mean? And so I always like to see, when I was in my earlier days, I felt like I was wielding my anger, at least, in a direction. And I think also a lot of people think that they have to get it right on the first shot. But one of the beliefs that I had was that I just want to be directionally correct. If I move, I know that I don't like this. And so this way is not where I am. And so I will start taking steps this way. And from the story that you at least heard, it's like, I'll ping pong a little bit to try and directionally move that way. And it's funny because Caleb's seen plenty of things from what we do at acquisition.com where we're like, we'll try it out. And if it doesn't work, then we're like, oops. All good.
I'm going to give the advice that I heard my third year of business. I was sitting with a group of other photographers who were farther in their career, and I had always found a way, even though I couldn't afford to get educated specifically in the photography realm because there was like very high ticket experiences, I would find a way to leverage what I thought I was good at in exchange. I'm a firm believer in bartering. Bartering is my favorite thing. And so I realized that while I'm not necessarily a copywriter, I wouldn't classify myself as like a writer. I had a blog at the time. I still have a blog, but at the time I was blogging every single day, and other photographers started noticing the quality of work that I was doing. And so I found a photographer in my area. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, hey, would I be able to go to your event and write a few blog posts about your event? And in addition to, if you let me come, could I also write your bio, like for your website? Because I gave like a little preview. I was like, his bio was just like, great photographer, love my camera. And I kind of wrote just like the first paragraph of what could be his bio based on things that I had read about him on the internet. And he was just like, yes. So I got into this room, and what he said, I felt like it just pierced my heart. And this is the thing that I will tell everybody again and again. He said, jump and the net will appear. And it was the first time in my entire life that I had ever heard somebody speak so brazenly about taking a risk. Again, who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks. And when he said that 3 years into it, I realized, okay, now is the time for me to start taking those risks. I wish somebody would have told me that sooner. And this is always the advice I always go back to. Jump and the net will appear.
A lot of people are chasing content creation, or they were chasing crypto last week, or they're chasing blogging years ago, and now AI everyone's chasing. And so what I'd recommend for other people out there, and I've been able to do this literally, I've chosen so many $1 trillion markets to be around, and a lot of my success is just because I'm in the market, and the market does well, but I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking, and I was like, oh shit, that's big. Because I got onto it, and I was able to see like, wow, you can connect with the entire world, even though there wasn't really the entire world at that point. So curious, same with mint.com. I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. So I can talk about my crypto thing because I think that's kind of an interesting example of it. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website. Don't worry you don't have a big social media presence. But what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe, and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it, and they don't do anything about it. So even with crypto, got involved. I heard about it in 2012, didn't do anything. I thought it was stupid. And then in 2016, I had to buy an illegal NFL stream. That's how I got into crypto. And so I bought this illegal NFL stream on a website, seasonsforyou.com, and I saw the power of what this could be. And then I started buying at that point, and that's where it's now become a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that.
My executive team, they decided to skip their salary for a month so that everybody else could get paid. We had maybe 60, 70 employees at that time. And fortunately, January came in, and January is always a great month for personal growth, and we had a campaign that worked, and we were able to get back on our feet. But these type of moments, they're soul crushing. They keep you up at night. But you gotta be prepared to go through them on your journey. But again, if you adopt the attitude that the number one thing is your growth, is how much you're learning, you're better able to go through these ups and these downs. Like the ups don't go to your head, and the downs don't destroy you.
Get to the deeper part of who do you want to be? What life do you want to live? And why do you want to live this life? Why is it important to you? Why is it worth you putting through all these hours? Why would you want to do that? That's transition when you go through it. And then the pressure part, when you said, here's who I'm going to be, where you declare your intentions to the world. this is what I'm going to be doing. A lot of times we keep things a secret. And so there's a debate. Some say you should never declare your intentions to the world because that pressure could create anxiety. You should never do it. You know, like Babe Ruth pointed a finger and I'm going to hit a home run. What if you don't hit it? What if you fail? You know, what if you say, Michael Jordan says, the Bulls never losing game 7. You should never say that because there's too much pressure on the players. Or then the other side said, well, you should put the pressure on yourself because your teammates play better because it's not on them, it's on you. And the leader does that. To me, I think declaring intention serves a purpose. I think when you go out there and you say, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is where I'm going to be at, you officially have the world holding you accountable. That pressure could be good pressure to put into your life. We hear the phrase peer pressure, and we always get the negative connotation with peer pressure, right? It's like, hey, don't do drugs because of peer pressure. You know, say no to drugs, peer pressure. Go to school, peer pressure, peer pressure.
I think about death all the time. It's like, I'm going to die. And I think you have to agitate the pain for yourself. Like, you have to stoke the pain. Like, if you can't get through, because like, it would be odd that you would be motivated by some weird passion. Like, not everyone's Mozart and just like, I just love music and I see see numbers and colors, whatever. Like, some people are like that, but most people aren't. And so if you're not that, then you only start really liking stuff when you get good at it, in my opinion. And you only get good at it by doing it a lot of times before you're good at it. And so this is why I'm a big believer in this, is that when you are starting out, I think you got to find the thing that's the pain. And like, pain motivates significantly faster and stronger than pleasure does. Like, people are like, no, passion's the right way. It's like, point a gun at a family member, all of a sudden, 10 out of 10 motivation, pain. And so like, I think people should use their pain more. And if they don't have enough pain, then one, maybe that's fine and you're a dreamer and that's okay. But I will tell you that a word that I read in my like 6-month journey between when I wanted to quit and when I actually quit, there was this word that just like pissed me off. And it was this in this self-help or entrepreneur book. And it said, there are entrepreneurs and there are wantrepreneurs. And I was like, and it was like, wantrepreneurs are people who read these books and don't do anything. Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I don't want to be one. I was like, I am one of these right now. And it just like felt so powerless. And I think that my entire life has been a lot of trying to have power. And I mean that in the true sense of just being able to direct influence in events. I've wanted to have more power to protect myself, protect the people I care about, etc. And I felt very powerless. And I think that I was in that comfortable, like my dad approves of my current situation. I had a job that when I told people, they're like, oh, that's fancy. But I felt powerless. And I hated that more than anything. And so I think if I want to say this to anyone who's listening, if there's anything you listen to, all the stuff that I described that was really tough, that I went through, was not as hard as me quitting my job. By far, the hardest decision of my entire life, bar none. Because the things that I was actually caught up with were the opinions of other people. The opinions of my father, and the opinions of the people that I went to school with who I thought would judge me for leaving this good job to probably become a failed gym owner. And how lame that would sound compared to consultant, going to Harvard, and blah, blah, like I was going to go from peak white collar to a very blue collar, profession making significantly less because I quote loved it. And like, I'll say this again, but like sometimes you have to let other people's dreams for your life die for yours to live.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
When you are starting out, I think you got to find the thing that's the pain. And like, pain motivates significantly faster and stronger than pleasure does. Like, people are like, no, passion's the right way. It's like, point a gun at a family member, all of a sudden, 10 out of 10 motivation, pain. And so like, I think people should use their pain more.
What matters is, at some point, you have to identify what you want to do, and you've got to become the best in the world at that, period.
And so you say in your life, well, something grips you and fills you with interest. And you think, well, should I do that? And the answer is, if not that, then something. What if it's a mistake? It's a mistake. Rest assured. What do you know? you're going to stumble around, right? And what's going to happen is this. You're going to not stay in stasis. You're not going to wander around in circles. And I see people like that. They said, well, I never knew what to do, and now I'm 40. It's like, that's not so good. That's not so good. And you might say, well, and there is a literature too that suggests that people are a lot more unhappy when they look back on their lives about the things they didn't do than they are about the mistakes they made while they were doing things.
We have these idealized versions of purpose that I think Instagram and all this stuff kind of make terrible. But like, I think there's a lot of honor in work, period. And I think a lot of people fool themselves by thinking that what they do for some reason is not honorable.
If you're building the muscle either way. You're either building the muscle that says, I do what I say, I keep the commitments that I make, or you're building the muscle that says, I make excuses, I don't do what I say, I can't be counted on, right? And so when we think about discipline, it's really about like, what promises are you going to keep? And the tricky thing is you're keeping promises to yourself that nobody even knows that you made, right? It's not like, hey, you made this commitment. If I don't write this book by this time, like, I have to do this embarrassing thing, or, then I'll retire. You're not really putting your ass on the line in that sense, but you've said to yourself, you're going to do this thing, and building that muscle is really important. I mean,
sometimes you have to let other people's dreams for your life die for yours to live. And for me, it was like when I continued to every day not want to wake up, that was my wake up call, where I was like, either I continue to live this way and not want to be alive, or I just risk the fact that I'll die to everybody else. And I think that it was the hardest decision of my entire life, by far. All the hard stuff we went through, still the hardest decision of my life.
Is your foundation and your fundamental principles so strong that if this thing was to go away, could you still create happiness and success all over again? If your foundation and principles are extremely strong, no matter what endeavor it is. You look at the most successful people in business and everything else, they've gone to do multiple things that have allowed them to create different levels of happiness within that confined circle. Michael had basketball. Then he had the shoe brand. Now he's got other endeavors. He's involved in, a lot of philanthropy things. The competitive nature doesn't stop, and everybody thinks you can only be happy with one certain aspect in your life. You can create happiness in multiple things in your life, and if it gets to the point where it is burning you out, that means it's time for you are no longer obsessed with that thing anymore, and it's time for you to become obsessed with something else.
So my obsession became that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. We are literally wired from the ground up in order to grow and improve under stress and pressure. So it's like, what's the phrase? Pressure can burst pipes, but it also creates diamonds. Yes. So it's like, you need the pressure. And yes, it can hurt, but it can also make something amazing if you're willing to put yourself in that situation. So it's a weird twist of fate that humans, in order to build the muscle, you first have to tear it, right?
Yes.
So, but once you accept that that's how it works, you can do extraordinary things.
The satirical and the ironic and the troublemaker, the comedian, the fool. The fool is the precursor to the savior. Why? Because you're a fool when you start something new. And so if you're not willing to be a fool, then you'll never start anything new. And if you never start anything new, then you won't develop. And so the willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation. And that's the same as humility. And so if you're going to write your destiny, you can do a bad first job. You're going to get smarter as you move forward.
They really want what they want, and they really end up getting what they want because they have to have it. They're obsessed about it. And anytime they're obsessed about it, they start figuring out creative ways to get what they want. If it's a girl, if it's a business, if it's a position, if it's a certain success, if it's accolades, if it's a certain place they want to be, if it's a certain lifestyle they want, they're gonna figure out a way to get it because they're obsessive. They have to have it. They're just wired that way.
I was saying what I said earlier about, like, I believe these things to be true about the universe or like the world. But a lot of those are like, what do I believe about myself? Which is like, I can choose to do work in this way, which then I can derive joy from. So like, if I'm shoveling shit, I can choose to be like, I will be the best shit shoveler because I believe that I will figure out how to do this more efficiently, and I will get better, and I'll have calluses on my hands, and I'll have a better back and whatever. But I will do this well. And I think you can find joy in work if you decide to do it.
Going back to the only belief that matters, you said it. It's the way you act is ultimately all that matters, and the way you act follows what you allow yourself to believe. Maybe a better way to say it is what you choose to believe. Mm-hmm. So if you choose to believe that your energy and efforts will result in more skill set, then you will actually put energy and effort into getting that, which means you actually will get the skill set. But if you think, well, my talent and intelligence are fixed, so no matter how much I work, I'm never going to get better, right? If you don't think that putting time and energy into it will yield anything, then you won't put time and energy into it, and you thusly won't get the skills. So, and if you don't have the skills, then you can't do the things other people can do, and so people just get stuck because they don't have the only belief that matters. So they don't put the time and energy. And so that's like where everything starts is, are you putting the time and energy into getting better, yes or no?
If you didn't withdraw in fear from everything that life threw at you, who could you become?
Thinking, overthinking, and when you overthink, usually you don't go to the positive.
If you make all the right decisions, but you have, like, you absolutely think that it's impossible for you, but you still do the right things, you will win.
Mediocrity always attacks excellence.
Ooh.
You know, it's kind of a rule. No one's attacking a couch potato. But the moment you start to walk toward your dream, and you start to break habits, you start to change relationships that no longer serve that dream, you start to be talked about. Now, many people are afraid of failure, which really means that they're afraid of being ridiculed. Mm-hmm. But once you become aware that you're going to be ridiculed if you fail, and you're going to be talked about if you succeed, then you're able to put that aside. Because you know you're going to be talked about either way.
No matter what, yeah.
Or if you go for it and succeed, they'll say, oh, it was luck, you know, whatever they say about you. So once you get out of your mind or become aware that people are going to talk about you either way, then you go for it.
You're alive, here you are, you got these problems to contend with, and if it's an impossible task, then how could you be anything but hopeless and desperate? But then you think, well, wait a second, how would things transform if I took this on as a voluntary adventure? You know, regardless of its scope, and the scope would include unjust suffering, death, and hell. And that's not just some religious or metaphysical vision. It's like, no, you're actually going to have to contend with that in your life, in whatever way those things make themselves manifest to you personally. That's coming, man. And so maybe you better get prepared.
So you can't say you want to be successful. You can't say there's certain dreams and goals, there are things you want to have and things you want to be if you are still average. Success and average have absolutely nothing to do with each other. That's what I'm telling you. Your boss can't stand average. Your coach can't stand average. Your teacher can't stand average. Your spouse, listen to me, your mama might put up with it. Your daddy might put up with it. But listen to me very closely. Nobody really likes average.
Some people have a problem for every solution. Some people don't believe that they can achieve at a high level. Some people are okay doing what average people do, doing just enough to get by. But that's not you. You have dreams, you have goals, you have aspirations, you have desires. And you are taking action to make all of your dreams a reality.
If you practice forthright and voluntary exposure to that which terrifies and dismays you, it transforms you. Much of the biochemistry of motivation and emotion is transformed when you take a stressor, which could be oppressive and paralyze you and cause you to withdraw, and you reverse that and you decide to advance. It's like a different spirit inhabits you. And I mean this physiologically. There's a whole different pattern of being that makes itself manifest in you neurologically and psychophysiologically and pharmacologically. So you take it on as a challenge, right? And that transforms you at a cellular level too, because one of the things we've discovered in recent years is that if you do something new and complex, then that turns on that parts of your DNA that haven't produced proteins before will start producing new proteins and reconstruct you from the cellular level up. So it's a deep transformation, and we have no idea how deep. And again, you could ask yourself, if you didn't withdraw in fear from anything from everything that life threw at you, who could you become?
The only belief that matters is that if I put energy and effort into getting better, I actually will get better. And so you can look at anything and say, okay, maybe I suck at this right now, which was the key realization for my life. Okay, I actually am not good. Like, my father-in-law wasn't crazy. I really wasn't anywhere useful for his daughter at that time. My mom wasn't crazy. I really was lazy. So she was just picking up on the fact that I was tremendously lazy. She wanted me to be successful, but she was just looking at my behavior. And so I hadn't been misidentified. People just didn't calculate how much I could change, and that I would so grasp onto the ability to change as an emotional life raft. And so the big switch was that I decided to believe that I could get better. And once I made that decision, it aligned my behaviors with skill acquisition. And that's all life is. Acquire skills.
Listen to me. Don't keep calling me and telling me you're going to get on the dean's list. Do me a favor. Don't tell me you're going to be on the honor roll. Shut up. Go to work and show me. Show me what you got.
Extraordinary mindset. You are determined to make the impossible possible. You are determined to make the unbelievable believable. You are determined to do more each and every day than that average person will do in a whole week. You are determined to do more in a month than an average person does in a whole year.
So if what you're hung up on is you just can't ever fathom that being true, then saying it may begin to form this it erodes this lack of belief that it's possible. Now, my problem is when people think that just saying it out loud is going to make it come true. That for sure isn't true. So your behavior is ultimately all that matters. So if you make all the right decisions, but you absolutely think that it's impossible for you, but you still do the right things, you will win. The problem is that if you believe that it's never going to happen for you, you won't take the steps. And so when you look at how hard something is and you get partway down that road and you're like, wow, this is really hard. It's making me confront my insecurities. This does not feel good. And I don't believe it's possible anyway. Then why would you keep going? And the answer is you wouldn't. And so nobody does. And so everybody who believes it's impossible and encounters the difficulties that success will demand of everybody, they stop 100% of the time. And so by looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am a millionaire, I'm a genius, all this stuff, it may function as some eroding mechanism to those entrenched beliefs that it's never going to happen for you. That would not work for me because there's a part of my brain that just screams, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. So for me, I had to align with what do I believe to be true about humans? I needed to accept that I was average. That was a huge moment for me because I tried to believe I was special, and either luck of the draw or the fact that I really am average, I've always been around a substantial number of people that are smarter than me. Literally every niche I tried to find, I would always run into somebody better than me. And it was devastating. Breakthrough for me was to accept that I was hopelessly average and that was still going to allow me to be successful.
And so you might say, well, if you could really face up to what you need to face up to, not only could you turn yourself into someone that could bear the catastrophe of life and exposure to hell, but maybe you could turn yourself into someone who would still do good even while facing those things.
Are you hearing me? I'm allergic to average. And the problem with a lot of you is you're not allergic to average, all right? You gotta do me a huge favor, man. You lying to yourself. On one point, you said you wanna be great. You wanna do great things. You wanna have greatness. You wanna be great. Listen to me, but on the other hand, for real, For real, you comfortable with average. And I told you, listen to me, I don't care what side of the railroad track you were born on. I don't care if you were fluent. I don't care if you privileged. I don't care if you grew up in poverty, with the father, without a father, with a mom, without adopted. I don't care. Listen to me. The reason why I'm telling you that I'm allergic to average is not personal. ET is allergic to it because success is allergic to average. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Success and average don't have nothing to do with each other.
If the people in your circle are average, we don't do average. We won't do average. I need you to have a CEO mindset. Champion energy only.
Some of y'all, you lying to yourself. You say you want to be great. You say you want to get to the next level. You say you want to be dominant on that field. You say you want to go to the Final Four. You say you want to be a national champion. Listen to me. You say you want a promotion. You say you want to start your own business. But listen to me very closely. You talk too much. Shut up, get in the lab, and let's go to work.
You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got to 10x today, and you got to 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired. You can sustain. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future.
Find someone who sits in a position that you want to be in. The fastest way to get to where you want to be, find someone that's already there and ask them for help. You would be amazed how many older, successful people want to help. So don't talk yourself out of asking for help. But also, one of my favorite ones is show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I see so many people surrounding themselves. See, your frequency is your neighborhood. And let me explain what that means is your frequency is created by your neighbors. And if you're sitting in the projects on a lawn chair drinking a Colt 45, you may have all the skills in the world, all the knowledge in the world, all the desire in the world. And when you turn to your buddy on the lawn chair drinking and you say, hey, can you help me? How many options, opportunities, and touches of favor do you think someone in your neighborhood is going to be able to give you? I'm telling you, frequency and vibration wise, surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Surround yourself with people that are going to give you more options, more opportunities, and more touches of favor. Surround yourself with people that feed you. So many people are being bled. 80% of their time is around people that make them feel like crap. They're watching things that make them feel like crap. They're listening things that make them feel like crap. They're surrounding themselves with people that make themselves feel with crap. They're being bled all day long and wonder why they feel bled.
Well, it's never too late. It's better to start earlier on in life. The earlier you figure it out, the better off you are. But it can happen later in life. Now, I figured out at an early age that I wanted to write. I didn't know what I wanted to write, but I loved words and I loved writing. And if I didn't have that connection when I was 8 years old, all the way into high school and college, I would have been a lost soul. And I empathize with a lot of people who don't have that feeling when they're 8 or 18 or in their 20s. But I'm trying to tell people everybody has it. You're just not listening to yourself. You've lost touch with who you are, the core of your being. You're on social media too much. You're listening to what other people are telling you. You're listening to what your parents told you should be doing in life. You're listening to what your friends think is cool. You're listening to what the culture is all about, the entertainment industry, etc. You got to cut all that out. You got to listen to yourself. And you got to be a bit bold. And you have to embrace what makes you different. What makes you different, what makes you particularly strange, if you want to use another word, is your strength, is your source of power. You've lost touch with it. Let's go back and try and find it. And that's the whole problem. How do you find it? Well, it's a process. It takes time. To do anything in life takes time and hours and patience and work. I recommend starting a journal and such and writing down some of the things that I think are important to you. So I like to tell people to go back to their earliest childhood memories of things that really excited them before they got mixed up with parents and teachers and all that, other people telling them stuff, If you are somebody who's word-oriented and you end up going into a field that's about math or about numbers, you're in for a lot of pain in life, right? So you've got to figure that kind of what I call primal connection to some kind of field. You have to look at the things that you love and the things that you hate.
A A lot of people are chasing content creation, or they were chasing crypto last week, or they were chasing blogging years ago, and now AI everyone's chasing. And so what I'd recommend for other people out there, and I've been able to do this literally, and I've chosen so many $1 trillion markets to be around, and a lot of my success is just because I'm in the market, and the market does well. But I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking, and I was like, oh, that's big. Because I got onto it, and I was able to see, like, wow, you can connect with the entire world, even though there wasn't really the entire world at that point. So curious, same with Mint.com. I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. So I can talk about my crypto thing, because I think that's kind of an interesting example of it. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website, don't worry you don't have a big social media presence, but what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe, and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it, and they don't do anything about it. So even with crypto, got involved, I heard about it in 2012, didn't do anything, I thought it was stupid. And then in 2016, I had to buy an illegal NFL stream. That's how I got into crypto. And so I bought this illegal NFL stream on a website, seasonsforyou.com, and I saw the power of what this could be. And then I started buying at that point. And that's where it's now become a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that.
Yeah, more of those CEOs would respond to you than they would today. When you're young, because they were young and they know how important, they know that they would not be where they're at if they didn't have someone elevate them, and they wouldn't be where they're at unless they're elevating others. You need to elevate others to elevate yourself, but also you need others to elevate you to elevate you. It's amazing. And everyone, they get fooled by the closed mind. I tell people, life is so simple today because of the size, scope, and scale of access that we have. We don't have to write. You can DM them, you can email them, you can call them. This wasn't available when we were working for the Oilers or wherever. And why is that important? Because I teach kids, especially, just look for the open mind. How do you find an open mind? Smile at someone. If they smile back, they have an open mind. Tell them you like their clothes. Tell a woman you like their purse or their shoes. If they smile, they have an open mind. It takes 1,000 times the effort to convert or to transition or re-engineer a closed mind than an open mind. And remember this, everybody has an open mind some of the time. Some people, almost all the time. Some people, almost never. But if you catch someone who has a closed mind when it's open, it's really valuable. So qualify people by open minds. They have open hearts and open hands. And guess what? They surround themselves with people with open hearts, open hands, and open minds, which allows you to create two types of people in your neighborhood. People who help you and people that know someone that can help you. Nothing can help you more.
Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like, what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it could even be small. Like, one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to?
The vision, right? And so for your vision, we said we want to build a great sustaining company into the 21st century because we had just sold Razzler, and we actually kind of wanted to keep it going. They just made us an offer we couldn't refuse. We owed that to the shareholders. And then the mission is all about leadership, because the object of the game, particularly in Silicon Valley, is to be the category king. Because when you're the category king, you get 80% of the industry resources and 80% of market cap. So our mission was to create a category called business-to-business electronic commerce and to be the leader. And then the next thing under that is your values. So, right, integrity's there, courage, high ambition, accountability, respect, the basics. And then we had a set of team rules that kind of personify those values. And by the way, same team rules for all the companies. The first one is direct, open, and honest communication. In a word, the truth. Because I had seen General Motors, when you go through 15 levels, I started at the lowest of the low, production floor, to the highest of the high, where I was a staff for the board of directors. I could see how that message would change, right? The second one is no idea is a bad idea. And then we added parentheses, unless the CEOs. So, because it's all about making a safe environment.
Sure.
And you can make the safe environment when you mock out the CEO. Plus, it's fun. The third one is always raise the standard in everything we do, in our people, our processes, and our products. And if somebody can't keep up with that standard, you got to do something about it. Otherwise, you've automatically lowered your standard. Then the fourth one is we're a team first and functional specialist second. So you developers put your feet in the customer's shoes. You sales guys don't make commitments we can't keep. And then the fifth one is the most powerful one of all. And that is hire the best people, especially if they're better than us.
For 20 years, I was just so obsessed with creating money and getting money. And I was not really obsessed at all in enjoying life and enjoying the money. And that's something when COVID happened that 180'd my life. And I'm grateful for it. It was definitely unfortunate for a lot of people. I was just grateful that it brought up, okay, well, if this is not forever, how do we enjoy this life? And so a lot of my learnings and what I do in our channel is to inspire people to be able to do their own things in business journey. And that doesn't mean to be a millionaire. I will say with 100% certainty, being a millionaire is awesome. The ability to go to the grocery store and you're like, just give me the things I want, go to the supermarket and not worry paycheck to paycheck, not worry about it. Like, I actually instill more like, okay, I should wait more to buy things. Let's delay that gratification instead of just getting everything I want. When I go to these billionaires, one of my favorite questions is, how do you enjoy money, but what do you regret about the money? And almost all of them, they will say they're either saying it or what they're actually saying is they regret not spending more time with their family. And only a very few were able to balance that. And that's something that stuck with me, where it's the reason I left San Francisco. I didn't want to talk about funding and employees and how big your company is. I don't care. I really, what I'm interested in is like, how good is your life? Like, how are you with yourself? Not even necessarily you have to be this donor person. I think that's one way of a great life. How are you to your partner? How are you to your parents? How are you to your friends? How are you to the people you work with? And I think money is very sensitive, and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it, but definitely there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it and different things that people enjoy. Like, I enjoy watches and bicycles, and I enjoy having a nice house. I never did any of these things before because I was like, I should just keep saving and saving and saving. And with COVID, I was like, maybe let me enjoy a little bit in the areas I'm spending a lot of time. And those are the areas. And then watches was also just, how can I represent pride in myself? Like what I've accomplished in different areas. So, me and my partner are pregnant. She's pregnant. I did the easy work, and so I got a Rolex with me and two other buddies. I bought 3 Rolexes, Pepsis to honor that. And that's super cool that I can do that for us and for them. And money enables that. Would I be just as happy without it? Yeah. But I would say having money to be able to have a nicer house, be able to have a house, live in Spain without worrying about the money and these type of things, it makes life so much easier.
Went from owning 33 homes in San Diego alone to a rented house, rented furniture, a pregnant wife with 3 daughters under 10. What am I gonna do? And I gotta tell my mom she's moving. I have really messed this up. And in some respects, I was more equipped, but in others, it was like, okay, I already got the lessons. Why are you punishing me? And when I laid there in bed that day of filing bankruptcy and keeping it secret, because I wasn't the person that I am today, I illuminate I am who I am. You're either gonna love me for who I am, but you're not gonna love me for who I'm not. Right? You can hate me for who I am, but you're not gonna love me for who I'm not. I'm gonna tell you the truth and illuminate to the best of my ability, spend minutes and moments outside of the truth, minutes and moments in ego-based consciousness. That's the secret sauce of what I do. But when I lied there in bed, it was another coincidence because tears were rolling down my face. I could not lift up my arms, right? It was harder almost because I knew the lessons. It wasn't like I was in that ignorant arrogance where I was in blame, shame, and justification. I was lying there being accountable, and that's hard. And at that time, accountability still was tied to what did I do to attract this to myself? What am I supposed to learn? It's evolved to what did I do to participate in it or the perception of it and what am I supposed to learn? But I remember, I wanted to get up. TV was on, almost like The Jacket. One of my favorite movies is Rocky. And so I'm lying there completely crushed. And I turn it on and there's Rocky 1. The end of the movie's on and it's that scene, the music's going, I'm crying, and Apollo Creed is just beating Rocky. And I don't know if you remember the scene, he's hanging and then he gets to the ground and Adrian's in the back and he's sitting there and he couldn't get up. 6, right? And Mickey's like, stay down, right? And everyone else, get up, and Rocky, and I'm sitting there, I'm down, and I'm watching him, and he looks up. I see it. He looks up. Somehow, the music going, and he gets back up, right? And then he pops Apollo in the ribs, and that round ends, the second to the last round. And the movie continues on to 8 more movies or whatever. I think to myself, what if he didn't get up? What if that movie ended that he was just crushed? He had learned all the lessons. Remember, he went through all the different lessons in the movie that made us root for him, love him. But that one moment of bankruptcy, he had a decision to make. If I can look up beyond everybody else, I'm gonna get up. And because he got up, we all know what happened in the other 8 movies. I wanted to see what was gonna happen in the other 8 movies for me.